back with clear explanations, practical advice, and the legal insights you need without the jargon. This is In Plain Legal on Now Media Television. Welcome back to In Plain Legal. We've been talking with Olga Hurtado about protecting your business finances. In this segment, we're focusing on something no one wants to imagine: fraud. Unfortunately, it's a silent threat that can cost businesses everything if not caught early. Business owners are vulnerable to financial fraud, often from people they trust most. Olga, what warning signs should business owners pay attention to that might indicate fraud or theft within their business?
Well, DNA, let me tell you something first. Fraud and cash flow are the topics that I talk the most with the small business owners who have employees and are growing. So based on our experience, I'm gonna list you four that are gonna be like the main ones that I have found throughout these years. So the first one is gonna be unexplained vendor payments. Whatever is unexplained, then it should be a red flag. Second one is employees who never ever take vacations. Huge red flag right there. If someone doesn't want to go on vacation, it's because they're hiding something. Okay. So make sure that you take them to a vacation and you do your audit, your own audit, without asking about anything. Missing receipts, like if you ask for a receipt and they give you excuses, then start reviewing more often because most likely you're gonna find something. And last but not least, and I think this is the one that most business owners overlook, is sudden lifestyle changes. When employees change their car for a more luxurious car without any explanation, for example, or they buy a house that they wouldn't you know, be able to afford with their salaries, then it's a huge red flag right there. So those are the four signs I always tell my clients to look at when they have employees, taking control of finances, like bank accounts or checks or cash.
And what you said is very, very important, right? Because these warning signs can help save them thousands of dollars in the future. But it's also good to make sure that the businesses are aware of the type of employees that they do have, because they could have some people that I'm assuming are willing and wanting to work because they're just workaholics and they just love the business and want to be there. So it's just making sure that you understand who your employees are and taking that with a grain of salt. But those are really, really great warning signs to
And
help business owners.
unfortunately, DNA, let me tell you something. The most of these cases come from from people that are very like familiarized with the business owners, like they are family members or they very close friends to them, or they have become close friends to the business owner. So business owners get relaxed about it, and they don't review anything, they don't control anything because they trust this person so much. And this is what I tell my clients: yes, you trust that person, but listen, we have a saying in Spanish, but it's almost like you have to rule your business without a heart, like heartless in that sense. Okay, you gotta take out your heart and review everything and ask questions. Be curious about your numbers and about your books and about your cash and about your checks, because that's your business. It's not theirs.
That is really good advice. So, how does sloppy or weak bookkeeping make it easier for fraud to happen without being noticed?
Well, because business owners, they don't used to like do reconciliations on a monthly basis, and they don't give importance about reconciliation, and they just think bookkeeping is about coding transactions. And listen, coding transactions is not the value of the bookkeeping. The value of the bookkeeping is to close your month and reconcile all your balance sheet accounts, because at the end of the day, that's the most important financial statement for a business owner. So do not skip or review your financials. Do not skip your reconciliations for your balance sheet. Do not skip the reviews of these bank reconciliations, because sometimes you can see a lot. The bank reconciliation can give you a lot of information when you review it, and if you know how to do it. Okay. And also, small thefts are, they go unnoticed. And they fraud doesn't start big. The fraud always starts with the opportunity you give that employee to start the fraud, even with the small quantities. Like, for instance, they go to a Starbucks and they buy a coffee with your credit card without your authorization. That's fraud. It's small, but let's say they go to Starbucks every week. You multiply that by 52, it's 52 weeks going to Starbucks with your credit card. So those are the kind of things that you have to be aware of when you are reviewing the bookkeeping for, from that person that is handling your books.
And then when you notice that, this is when you then go find a lawyer.
Exactly, yes. Go find a lawyer and pursue them legally.
Yes, yes. So, what systems and policies or internal checks can owners put in place to protect themselves from fraud?
Well, I think the most relevant and important one will be segregation of duties. And write this down. If you segregate the duties of your employees, for example, you do not let one person handle everything by themselves. For an employee, that person takes your cash. You're a restaurant owner, and that person receives the cash from clients, and then that person closes the day and the daily register and counts the cash, and then that same person goes to the bank the next day and deposit that cash into the system, into the bank, I'm sorry. But that same person goes to your system and review how much sales in cash you had versus the cash that was deposited. So that's just one person doing everything. You need to do like workflows approvals and reconcile that. If you cannot do it on a daily basis, then do it on a monthly basis, because those cross verifications that you do when you have at least two people doing that will avoid, I will not say 100%, okay, but that will help you avoid in a biggest percentage the fraud.
You know what? That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, even having systems and policies or internal checks are great, but this is also why having a team is also very important, because then you can then, as a business owner, talk to, your accountant, talk to your tax advisor on how you can then put in potential policies and systems so that you can have the check on the back end by making sure that everything is, you're being protected, so to speak.
Right. And let me tell you something, DNA, just right there, because in that topic, I think the most important thing we have noticed is that business owners, since they have a very small teams, they give like access to everyone with the same user IDs and passwords. That's a huge mistake. If you cannot afford different user IDs and passwords for different POS, then try to find a solution by doing just one or two or three that you can afford, that you can segregate these users to the employees. But not only that, the fact that when you close your cash or your deposits on a daily basis blindly, don't give your employees the full access of everything. Blind them, blind the reports. Just give me the closing day, and you're not going to be able to see whatever is in the system. Just give me the totals, and I'm the one, as an owner, as a business owner, to do that cross verification if you don't have any more people in your team.
That's really great. That's a great insight. So, I mean, along those lines, how often should a business owner review or audit their financial records to make sure everything is accurate?
Listen, I don't have like a periodicity, but I would say at least quarterly. And don't look just at the reports. Like, review the resource, like I'm sorry, the sources. If you go to your P&L or to your balance sheet, you go to your general ledger and you see the detail of one account, just pick one account monthly. Let's say office expenses, okay? Review the ledger detail and see what are the transactions that contain that total. Ask questions. And if you don't understand one transaction as a business owner, then ask the question, because you as a business owner have that right. You need to understand the transactions that are within your general ledger. So at least do it quarterly.
Right. So if fraud is discovered, right, what financial cleanup actions should a business take right away?
Well, first of all, freeze access immediately for that person. Okay. And I would say that sometimes you are suspicion about fraud. If you are suspicion and you haven't found like the real fraud in your business, then involve a professional accountant that do the audit and review all the transactions without telling this person. Okay. And when you find like the actual fraud and you freeze access immediately, then you have to go to the police or take those next steps, because you don't want anyone else to go through that process the same way that you're doing it. And I'm sorry, but these people, they need to be stopped. And the only way is for you to be able to go to the police and report them. That's the only way, and make a record of it. Because at the end of the day, you need to document everything. If you're gonna put something on them, you have to have proof of that. So
Right.
if you're suspicious about it, then just involve a professional accountant, audit, or fraud examiner that can help you go through this, through all these details that you can have proof about this. But the most important thing is freeze access. Like, if that person is stealing from you, just get rid of that person right away. Don't give him the opportunity or give it the opportunity to stay in your business.
You know what? That's such great advice. And I will say, from a legal perspective, it's always better, I believe, to have all of that documentation prior to going to a lawyer, because what happens is it will then bolster your case, because then we have the evidentiary proof to do what we need to do to sue the person that you're trying to get the money back for the fraud. I mean, a lot of people will instantly think, okay, well, fraud is discovered, I need to go speak to a lawyer. And you totally can, right? But by having more evidentiary proof prior to going to a lawyer, we can then guide you in a different direction, because we're not doing the investigation as the case is progressing. Because obviously there's going to be some court deadlines that come up if we end up, filing a suit. But I really appreciate your insight. So don't go anywhere. After the break, Olga explains why scaling without clarity can send your business into chaos. Stay with us. We'll be right back with clear explanations, practical advice, and the legal insights you need without the jargon. This is In Plain Legal on Now Media Television.